Assalamu alaikum, lovies. This is Mariam Alima with another episode of What Do You Know About Islam? So I was watching this YouTube, I think it was last night, and it was on a the person's page is called they do shows or whatever. It's called Spectrum, and the topic of this video was, do all Muslims agree? I think that's what it was. I want to actually be sure because so what they were talking about, they had like all these different topics, and they were discussing whether or not men and women were equal. They were discussing whether or not they should think that wearing hijab is something that should be mandatory. Let me see if I can find it. Do all Muslims think the same? I think that's what it is. And it's on, yes. And so it's on like if you look up Spectrum, and the video is about 13 minutes long. Do all Muslims think the same? And so I was like, let me watch this. And it was so interesting. In the sense that, like, okay, so one of the major questions that they asked, so they had these lines. You can be in the middle for neutral, and then they have agree, somewhat agree, strongly agree, disagree, somewhat disagree, strongly disagree, or whatever. So that's how they had it. And they brought up the what really, a lot of the questions that they brought up, I was kind of just like, the questions were good questions. It's just that some of the responses, that's what really was, perturbing, was the responses I was given. I was like, what makes a Muslim? So that wasn't the question, but the question was, can you be a Muslim and support LGBT community? And one sister, Hassana, I think her name was Hassana. She was the only person that went on this side of somewhat disagree. So yeah, but somewhat disagree, strongly disagree. And, she got very emotional. Everybody else went over. There were about 3, maybe 4 people that went on strongly agree, like, yes, you can be Muslim and support LGBT. I think 1 or 2 people were like somewhat agree or whatever. But, it's funny because I believe that so many people are trying to be politically correct, and especially since this was being recorded and was going to be posted on YouTube, I think that influenced their response. And I'm really thankful that she stuck to her guns and gave truth, because this is something that is so such a big topic for me, being an actress and having friends, associates, or acquaintances that are homosexual. And I've been trying to facilitate a conversation with one of these people to do a podcast, because I want to know. I've had these conversations quite a bit, outside of, recording or whatever. And they know that I don't agree with homosexuality. It's against my belief system. It's against my way of life, in terms of what it says in all faith doctrine, that it's unnatural. And so most of them, yes, I have. I mean, I've had a relationship with someone who said that they respected me for my opinion and that they were fine with it. But I mean, the topic just continuously arose between the two of us. And it was like, and it wasn't me bringing it up, because like, I genuinely, I have no qualms with anyone who is homosexual. Like, I don't personally, I'm not affected. Like, that's your struggle that you have to go through. Just like I had struggles of my own, and I know that I was sinning. That was my own battle. So it wasn't something that was necessary for me to bring up all the time because it wasn't, whatever. But anyway, it is something that I have brought up before because I wanted to make sure that they knew that I cared about them as an individual, even if I didn't agree with their lifestyle, be it whether they perceive it as a choice or not a choice, whether they perceive that they were born that way, whatever. Point was, I wanted them to know that I'm my affection or affinity for you doesn't lie with whether or not you identify as heterosexual or homosexual. And so Hassana, was on the side of somewhat disagreed because of Islam. And, it is a sin. And I would have been on the side, because the question is, can you be a Muslim and support LGBTQ? And I would have strongly disagreed. And I do strongly disagree with supporting. Now, supporting something is basically, we don't want to do, let's just go ahead and parse. Like, why not? So we want to give actual factuals on what actual definitions are and not just on my opinion. So what is the definition of support? Give me just a moment to give proper. Okay, so bear all or part of the weight of, hold up, give assistance to, especially financially, enable to function or act. So to assist, to reinforce, let's go with to reinforce, to assist. So am I going to assist in the plight of homosexuality when I know in my religious doctrine that that's a sin? No, that's like me saying, I'm going to support you being a fornicator. I'm going to support you being a liar. I'm going to support you being a gossiper. I'm going to support you being, drinking alcohol. I'm not about to support you in your sin. You can. That's faulty practicing of your faith. It's not me not supporting you doesn't mean that I don't possess empathy, and it doesn't mean that you don't care about that person as an individual. You have to be able to separate the two. I know I separate the two. But if you are someone that is in supportance of the LGBTQ, or you are one yourself, I cannot tell you that you're not a Muslim if you are a homosexual, because guess what? Maryam was a fornicator, and she said that she was a Muslim. And was I carrying out my duties as a Muslim to the T? I was not, and so therefore, Allah had to get me right. Now, it's semantics been saying like, oh, you can call yourself this, but are you really embodying it? So I'll say this. So like, I can say whatever, I can call myself whatever I want. But if that's not what I'm actually giving out and representing it to what the definition is, then you can call yourself that, but are you truly being that? So was I truly being a Muslim when I was not completely submitting my will to the will of Allah? No, I was not being a Muslim. I was calling myself a Muslim. And we in our prayers we do say striving to do the will. Yes, striving. But once you become completely conscious of the fact that you're like really sinning, like, okay, this is a sin, I need to stop doing this. Now, then now you're in like a different territory of water. So I'll go back to the supportants. No, I'm not going to advocate for LGBTQ rights, because that would go against my religious beliefs. If you want to go out there and fight for your rights, I'm not going to be on the corner saying, don't give them this. No, that don't have nothing to do with it. Supposedly separation of church and state. We're not under Sharia law here in America. We're under lie law. They just lie. America's full of lies. So there's really no separate. Someone actually made a comment about that because, of course, you have ignorant people and they're saying like, that's why. Anyway, I'm not even gonna say what they said, but they were saying that America was, that's why America is so advanced because they understand the separation of church and state. That's a lie. Like America is so is the government of America is the biggest hypocrite that there is. Like it's so flawed. It's not even funny. The money says, "In God we trust." You pledge your allegiance to a flag under God in school, but you can't pray. You take oath over the Bible. You don't have to, but 9 times out of 10, they're asking you to do it over the Bible. If there's a separation between church and state, what is all that? And then even with that, abortion bills, because they're saying it's immoral. There is no separation between church and state here in America. That's a lie. America does whatever it wants to do whenever it feels like doing it. So to that person, I was like, anyway, you already see who you are. You're full of blog now. But for those Muslims or for those people who are not Muslim and who are, who have qualms with people who are, very into their faith and are sticking by their faith, you don't have to feel like homophobia implies fear. There's no fear coming from someone that's just in disagreement with you. No one's afraid that you're gonna give them the cooties. That's not what it is. It's just that we don't agree with your lifestyle. But go ahead and live your life for you, because who am I to you? We're told to give righteous judgment, but that doesn't mean that I go out and I do anything to harm you. I go out and I do anything to hinder you from doing whatever you want to do. That's not my job, and that's not my heart. That's not where I stand. It was a very interesting video. I implore everybody to go watch it and leave some comments. I'll probably go back and maybe read some and leave your comments on here on what you think about that. Do you believe that you can be a Muslim and be in supportance of any sin, be it homosexuality, anything? May Allah continue to give us all the light of understanding. Peace.